live.
Oh, good deal. Oh, well, what's up, friends? I am MartianKat, and I'm not sure. Should I just introduce myself? Like,
Yeah,
talk about how long I've been streaming and stuff? I mean,
you are talking to them. You tell them all the things about you and everywhere to follow you and all the stuff. It's your
okay,
show.
all right. Well, I've been streaming on Twitch for about 6 years. Most of my streams have been centered around the concept of the visual novel. Um, and it's more than just mobile apps. Visual novels are you know games generally that are could be read as books, but can be shown as mobile apps, interactive novels. The one that I'm going to show you all is Choices. It's the one I stream most, but other games also qualify as uh, a visual novel. The Ace Attorney series counts as a visual novel. The Vampire the Masquerade story games, those count as visual novels. Um, the Telltale games, like The Walking Dead, which is near and dear to my heart, are also visual novels. Even though it's just you're kind of pointing and clicking through the adventures, it still basically reads like a book. So, um, that's kind of just a general concept for that. One second, bring in my new tip. I didn't want to switch screens, and then it's like, okay, now all of a sudden we're looking at my Google Docs. you know. Okay. And when streaming visual novels, also dating sims also count as visual novels. Games like Dream Daddy and Monster Prom, they all have narrative. You're just kind of clicking through the adventure and you're reading it. That also counts as a visual novel. So, for presenting those, I figured there's a few different ways to do that. One, you can choose to use your camera or not. Um, I would say camera is probably good if you're better with like emoting with with your face, or if you're just comfortable with showing your face. It's good to go ahead and use the cam. That way your audience is able to see your reactions to all the stories. When things are shocking, it's kind of good to see whether it made you sad or made you laugh or whatever. Cam of course is best for folks who just really just want to focus solely on just letting the game be, you know, front and center. I've kind of come up with like about four different like styles to actually run the streams, and then I'll talk about how to set it up for going on Twitch. Um, One is with voice narration, which is generally what I do on my streams, where you are individually voicing characters, or you can be basically the narrator of the story. So you can just show the characters as they are, and then every once in a while you're just basically reading the narrative parts. Um, Another way to do it would be just reaction based reading. So you're either showing it on the screen or you're just reading it like you normally would without actually giving characters voices, and just react to what you're seeing on the screen. I've also seen folks do it nonverbal, where all they're doing is just playing the game. They're just clicking through the adventure. They're not speaking or reacting to anything. They're just showing the game. And of course, you can mix all of those things up. You can choose to do a little bit of voice narration and also interact and react, which is probably not probably that is my style. The way when I'm doing my streams. Uh, and then you could choose also to like have audience participation or not. Generally, if there's a time choice, I probably won't ask the audience like, "Hey, what are we gonna do?" or "What should we do about this?" But if it's something that's not timed, and it may add a little bit of something funny or some suspense to it, just to have the chat help you with the choice, then that's kind of good too. It also helps keep you motivated in the story too, because now they're also invested in the story as much as you are. So, what I'm going to talk about now is actually setting up the streams for for presentation. The app that I use is called BlueStacks. It is an emulator, uh, mostly for Android. I don't know if it does like the App Store for Apple. I'm not familiar with iPhone or any of those things. So, uh, so I couldn't tell you if it actually emulates that, but it does, do Android very well. And I talked about choices. So of course, when you download BlueStacks, you actually have to go into the Google Play Store. And like right now, I have Ace Attorney up. It's $20, it's a great game. I've played it, but of course, I'm not going to pay for that right now. But you can download any game that you want through BlueStacks, and then you can set it up for viewing. So here's choices, and after you open the app, you can either stream it just like this. You can stream it just this way, or they actually have a streaming mode, which if you just you click up at the top, it's the menu option, choose streaming mode, and then it'll pop the app out individually to run the stories. And of course, you can just play. It plays just like your cell phone. You can click just like if you're tapping. Uh, some of the ways I try to make it a little bit more, I guess, flashy, because it's like, all right, this is just the app. It's all and there's nothing else behind it. Is by adding some type of background. And then once you're in the book, you don't get to see like the title card. You don't get to see you don't see it anymore once you're actually in the book. So I was looking at one that I had played before. Let's see here. And one of the last ones I did uh, was Veil of Secrets. So once you're actually in the book, and I'll just click restart. Like I said, you can't see the title card. So one of the things that I do for my layout, my overlays, is to have the title card set up on one side of the screen, with the book set up on the other, um, and go through and just read it that way. Uh, try to see. And I like to also um, do use like my channel points and things like that to for the audience to choose, um, you know, like whether we're going to play as a man or a woman, or if they want to choose the name, they'll throw names out into the chat and stuff. So it's it just kind of gives it a little bit, just an added investment from your chat just to get into the stories. Um, I don't really have a whole, um this is like really just the basics of it, to set to for setting it up. uh I'm not sure. Whoops, sorry, I clicked on something else. And that is really all I had, and I know it was really short, but I wondered if anybody had questions on how to stream it, or if there's things that people might be interested in with streaming these types of games. There is actually it's a very untapped section of Twitch, and it's starting to come up a little bit. We're seeing a lot more people stream these types of apps, and I think it's going to find a bigger audience the more people do it. So
Can I ask how you choose which stories you're going to do?
absolutely. When sometimes I'll pick, like when I initially started streaming choices, I picked a book that I had never read. It was one that was recommended to me, and And so I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, you know what? I'll check it out. I like horror books." And the first book that I had did was actually called It Lives, and it's actually an anthology series. Um, and that was the first one that I did. Other times, I've actually have asked, in polls like, "Hey, recommend me some books to read," and then based on, the recommendations, I will put up a poll for the more popular books, the ones that were, most recommended, and have let folks, basically vote in a poll for which books I wanted to read. And now that I've gotten Jingo the Fool to come and help me do the narrations, I've asked him like, "Hey, which one do you want to voice?" you know, it makes it a little easier when you have somebody else, helping you do the voices too. Or for me, it helps me to do them because say doing a horror book, which I love to do. I think my voice personally is more suited to doing horror. Um, is that after a couple of hours, you're doing monster voices, you're doing human voices, you're wrecked by the end of a couple of hours. So sharing the voicing duties has been a wonderful thing for me. But yeah, that's typically how I pick my books.
And have you done other like visual novels or like I have a ton through Steam, or have you just done the ones from stories?
Um, I haven't. I have actually done more than that. I've streamed all of the games from all of the Walking Dead games from Telltale. I've done all of those. I also streamed The Wolf Among Us. Um, I did a stream of a couple of the Vampire the Masquerade books. One of them was Coteries of New York, which is amazing. If you really are fans of Vampire the Masquerade. And I also did. Oh gosh. It was the second New York book, but it was the sequel to Coteries. And I started doing Night Road, but I didn't get to finish that one. Um, but yeah, it's I've done more than that. I've built I mean I've done a lot of streams that have to do mostly with visual novels. Most of my games have been visual novels, just not so much with like choices.
Hi, I'm TF Wright. First of all, I wanted to say I really enjoyed the talk so far. I am actually a visual novel developer. So I am just curious, like, what would you like to see from developers to make them more streamer friendly?
Oh, that is a great question. For me, it's I'm the size of the text is a real big thing for me. Because that's sometimes I can't see the text very well because it's kind of small on the screen, and I'll end up making the app a little bit bigger just so I can see it. Um, when streaming it for other people, I I I think the text size is really like a big thing. Um, Customization of characters, that's also a big thing. You know.
Okay, great. I heard you mentioned earlier about reading aloud. One of the things that I did with my most recent game, Wicked Willow, is that I actually did full voice acting so that you can put it on auto and like have the characters read the story to you.
Oh,
Do
that's neat.
so you feel do you feel like you really enjoy the experience of reading it aloud yourself, or do you think having like voice acting adds a different dimension to it?
Personally, I like putting my spin on the characters and what I
Hmm.
think they would sound like. But I've also played games where they're fully voiced, and that's just fine too. It gives me more to react to, and I could just talk about like how the character sounds, or if I think that the voice was perfect for the character, or you know.
Oh, sure thing. Well, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but I one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure to hit this panel was because I know that there are a lot of people who are streamers who are probably listening, and I just want to say that if anyone is interested in streaming either of my games, either Wicked Willow, which is a queer witch visual novel, or The Pirate's Fate, which is more like a furry treasure solving adventure whatever visual novel. I'm happy to give away like a free key to anyone that wants to stream it who is a streamer. So can I like post the links to that in the panel room chat?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'd be interested in checking that out. Is it? Oh, it is through Steam. Okay, perfect.
It is through Steam, yeah. So I am happy to give anyone like a key if you want to learn more about Wicked Willow or about Pirate's Fate. Like, feel free to send me a direct message and let me know if you want to either learn more about the games or you're a streamer and you would like a free key. I also have like a Discord. I can try to promote your stream on my Discord, promote your stream on Twitter. I'm always happy to try to support streamers that are interested in playing my games.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely. And it's actually a growing community of folks that are out there, streaming these types of games. Um, and I really think that it's one of those genres that I think other people will start to pick up on, and it'll gain some traction. I'm sure hoping so.
Yeah, I'm hoping so too.
Yeah, because I mean I love a good story, and that's and that's being able to share, especially stories that I love and that I've read before with other people who also love them or who may not have seen it before, is just amazing, and it's been really cool, because like say with choices has been around for 5 years, and the community is very passionate about their books, just like all of us who love books, we're all passionate about our favorite authors and our favorite stories and favorite characters. um but with getting to branch off, and it's like, oh well, okay, I'm going to take this path ABCD, but now to see someone else play the same book that I did and see a completely different route, it's like, oh, I didn't even think to play it like that. And I've seen a lot of that where, folks are like, "Oh, well, I didn't take that scene, or I didn't play that character," or, things like that. Um, so it's been cool to get that reaction from people where, they had seen characters that maybe they weren't too keen on initially when they played the book themselves, but having seen me play it or somebody else stream it, you know what I mean? Um, it's brought more attention to those I call them those characters that really need a lot of love. you know and I've seen that happen where it's like, all right, I'm playing a romance book, and the character that I chose as my li or love interest was one that nobody picked. And then they ended up really liking him. They're like, wow, I didn't even give him a chance. Like, yeah, see. you know you probably should have.
I love visual novels. They've actually become like about a third of my streaming content,
Hmm.
thanks to Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yes, and I've actually seen folks play that one, and I like going in and just checking out other people's streams and seeing what other stories do they love. I mean, of course, I mostly stream choices, uh, but I have friends who stream other apps like Romance Club, or they stream chapters gets pretty saucy, so not too much of that, but you
Oh, I
know
know.
yeah, I'm like, whoa. um but
After straight smut.
oh yeah, yeah,
100%.
big time.
I was going through it and I was like, that is the word clit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Wasn't
you don't.
expecting that. I wasn't mad, I just wasn't expecting it.
Oh, facts. Oh my gosh, yeah. It's like the first time I was reading, that particular app, I was at work, so it was just like, oh my god.
They changed like the models on it so they're like more naked and during their sexy time too. Just like
Yeah, and it's kind of nice with choices because they don't do that. It's like, okay, your character may look like she's in a bikini during the sexy time and stuff. It's they're not got the clouds or whatever covering all the body parts.
I was wondering, do you actively work on like your voices, or do you look up what voices you might need, or do you just go into the book blind and then make up the voice as you go?
Uh, Generally, I'll just kind of make it up as I go along. Sometimes I'll kind of practice. practice maybe a little bit if I know the characters. Like when I played It Lives, I knew nothing about the characters. I didn't know anything about the story, so I went in completely cold. So um, all of the books that I've done where I have not read the book before have been cold reads. I don't know what's happening. I have no idea. It's just, and I just kind of wing it. So, there was one character in It Lives that she sounded, like the way it read, she sounded basically like your typical high school bitchy cheerleader. So I was thinking like, man, what did those girls sound like when I was going to school? I grew up in Southern California, so there was a lot of like in things like that, and just tried to play it up, like it was somebody on a television show. Um,
Right.
yeah, so it's a lot of fun coming up with the different voices and stuff. And when Jingo comes in, he does accents. I don't really do accents because I feel like I'm insulting. I'm being insulting if I do an accent badly. you know.
Yeah, accents are tricky.
I didn't even try to do the voices. I'm like, no.
Yes, and if I know, maybe where that, a character is small town or something like that, then I try to play it a little differently. But most of the main characters, they just sound like me, and then everybody else sounds different. you know.
But like, is that something? Isn't that something you want? Like, you want to immerse yourself in the story, so then the main character could just be you.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of feel like the main character is me, and I think that's how they're written, and I'm sure uh TF, you probably have that too, where when you're writing your main characters, do you kind of write them as if the player is the main character?
So that's a really good question, and I've actually done it two different ways. So for my first game, Pirates Fate, I kind of had more or less a blank slatey main character in Mila. But at the same time, she was just sort of one character standing on the screen. It wasn't necessarily like told from her point of view. She was the one who the player was in charge of, but and she was kind of a blank slate, but she was just a character on the screen. For Wicked Willow, I had it clearly told first person from her point of view. You heard her inner monologue. Her image was in the corner of the screen where she would like react. There would be all these like reaction pictures of just her face to what the other characters were saying.
Right.
So with that, what I did was it, I very clearly had it from her point of view. So yeah, I've experimented both ways. Personally, I feel like you're actually better off as from a writing standpoint making the main character have a personality as opposed to doing a blank slate. And the reason why that is because if the character has a personality, you can actually have them react to stuff versus if they're just supposed to be a blank slate that the player constructs. There's all these constraints on something like, well, are you supposed to be a mean person or a kind person? Are you supposed to be a patient person or an impatient person? And so you can't actually really react to anything organically. It just has to be like a series of choices that creates like more work for the writer and everything. Versus if someone has a clearly defined and maybe even a flawed personality, it really gives you a lot more freedom as a writer to have them organically interact in ways that make sense without having to account for the fact that the player was supposed to have crafted their personality like completely from the beginning.
hmm Yeah, I mean, and I've seen that in some of the different story apps where the main character will have different ways they react. Like, okay, one is to the character that they're speaking to. It's a very positive interaction, so it's like, okay, we're there's it's all smiles and everything is really positive. Or you could just be a total jerk to this person. So they give you options. Your character is basically what you make it at that point. Um, good or bad. Some of them, the character is actually clearly defined that they're very heroic or they're very brave, and they have levels of those types of personality traits in their responses to other characters. Um, so yeah, I think that's one for at least for a main character. I kind of like to have them already fleshed out enough to where it's like, all right, I'm either gonna really like this character or I'm really not. And there have been books where it's like, huh, I'm, I can't do this. This main character is absolutely horrible. They're horrible to everybody around them, and they're just rude. So I don't want to read it.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. I mean, I feel almost sacrilegious for saying this, but I have actually I've tried to stream visual novels myself, and I find myself kind of getting bored with like maybe 60% of them that I try,
Hmm.
just because I've noticed that there's a lot of kind of clunky exposition, and it's sort of it can be hard to kind of really hold your interest if the game is supposed to only really get going after like an hour or so, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And I've done that too. There and even in this app, and I'm very familiar with it, and I love a lot of the books in it. There was
Mhm.
one where I just could not. There was just there was just way too much going on. It's like, and I can't, focus on trying to do that and also talk to the chat while this, it's a whole like mystery thing and it's really
Mhm.
intense. And I couldn't find a voice for any of the characters, so I was like, okay, you guys, I'm gonna switch it up. I can't do
Yeah.
this anymore. And I refuse to do what I call hate reading, which is something that I've seen some people do, and it's just like, y'all, look, don't hate read books. You're just
Well,
stressing
I
yourself out.
definitely think
you
that in
know.
terms of hate reading, there's different levels of it. I don't want to specifically name any visual novels in case anyone really likes them, but was a couple of them that I played that I felt like I have to turn off after just 15, 20 minutes because it just wasn't engaging to me. And then there are others that I think are they're kind of silly, but in a good way, so that you can kind of get a good laugh out of them. And I think you mentioned Ace Attorney before.
Oh yeah.
I really like Ace Attorney. I think that's an example. I wouldn't necessarily call it hate reading, but there's a lot of writing in Ace Attorney that is very silly and very unrealistic, and feels kind of like the jokes. Not all the jokes are funny, but they're bad in a way that you can kind of laugh at them and you're still having a good time.
Oh yeah, and they get very punny
Yeah.
in the Ace Attorney games. I'm a huge fan of those books and played them when they were on the DS. Um,
Yeah. I was actually just playing Ace Attorney a few hours ago.
oh, how funny!
Yeah, I was doing a full read aloud with the different voices and trying to do the things. It wasn't really streaming it. I was just playing it and then laughing along with my wife. That's what I was doing. But yeah, I mean that's the type of thing that I can imagine. Even if you didn't really like it, you could kind of enjoy it. But there's other times when it's just so boring and there's not really anything redeemable about it that, yeah, I think you shouldn't necessarily you shouldn't force yourself to get through it. If you're not having a good time, then just find a different game to play.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when you're streaming it, and if folks are watching or or listening to you read it and they find that you're struggling with it and you're kind of forcing yourself to do it and you're kind of sidetracking yourself when you're trying to read it, it's time to hang it up. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so you just I like to stream books that I think are either fun or something that's exciting, or even if I could mystery science it, you know what I mean, and I'm just making comments about it. That's okay too. It's like I don't dislike it. It's just it's funny to me, so I'm gonna clown on it. you know.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Uh, do you, I know with chapters.
Oh boy.
that's that's the that's the only one I've played.
Right.
You get to know the character, and then sometimes um they give you choices, like maybe all three choices don't align with what the character is presented as.
Oh yes.
Do you
Yeah.
run into that often? And
Uh,
also monetarily,
yeah.
because chapters is you definitely have to have money to make the better choices that would align with the character sometimes.
Yeah.
So
Yes, yeah, in chapters especially, and it's like, and I'm not trying to dog it, that's their model, and they make tons of money on doing it.
yeah,
But yeah, in now. to me, the difference between say choices, um, is that the choices that you make are not going to make your character look different than they should be. But in say chapters, like you just mentioned, there's some where it's like, okay, wait a minute, my character's pretty happy-go-lucky, but it's like, all right, well, in order for me to have a positive outcome to this scene, I'm gonna have to pay how much? you know,
Right.
or the free option is to just be a total jerk about it. It's like, no, I really don't want to hug you. Let's call it a night, and that's
Right.
it. Or you're saying, or your character is saying something completely rude, which I wouldn't think is something that if I was playing it, or if this was me writing it, I wouldn't want my character to say that.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another thing I've also noticed in some apps that you're almost shamed for not making the purchase. And then there was an app where I was playing a story, and the options for clothing came up, and it's like, okay, you can pay for this one expensive outfit, or you can just go in basically like a burlap sack. You know,
Yeah.
and they're griefing you. It's like, all right, well, you know what? I really don't want to spend money on that, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take that burlap sack and let's go ahead, keep it rolling.
Yeah.
And then the characters are shaming you for it. It's like,
They
oh,
yeah, they are
that what you're
shaming
gonna
you for
wear?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
They're like,
horrible.
"Oh, didn't you wear that last time?" Like,
Exactly.
or if you like really like the outfit, because in chapters sometimes I like just like the outfit and I'll just keep it.
hmm
And they're like, "But I thought you were gonna change." I'll be like,
Oh yeah,
What
and then
you thought wrong.
right.
right.
Yeah, and you'll see like the best friend character that just trashed you for not changing to the $15 outfit or whatever. I'm just throwing that number out there.
Yeah.
Uh, is wearing the exact same outfit for the whole book. It's like,
Yes.
are you serious right now? And you were shaming me, and you haven't even changed your shoes? Like seriously?
100%.
Yeah, it cracks me up when I see that. It's like, oh gosh, okay, fine. Um, but I get it. It's a freemium model. It's like you don't have to spend money, but for some things, if you really want that really great outcome, you might have to spend a couple coins. Or watch a few ads to get those coins.
Yeah. So with that idea, do you I mean, you clearly enjoy choices.
Absolutely.
Um, since it's your main game. But like having the visual novels on Steam where you don't have to have that kind of, well, if you want the good choice, you need to spend extra.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
and that's the big difference, obviously between say, playing a mobile app versus playing a PC game. Because, if I'm playing say, Vampire the Masquerade and I'm playing Coteries, really, the only thing that I need to do is to have a better outcome. I just need to make sure that my powers are up, or I have enough blood points for the night or whatever. Don't have to pay anything additional for that because you have already paid up front. You know.
Yeah.
Um,
Just out of curiosity, you mentioned something called Chapters. Is that by Crazy Maple Studio? Is that the one you were talking about?
Yeah.
Yes, I had it up on my screen initially, but I went I I had uninstalled that
Oh,
right
okay,
before we
yeah.
got talking.
I'm just looking at this here. I'm just looking because they have like jobs available. And I'm like, oh my gosh, one of these things feels like it would totally fit me.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that app too. It's just not one that I stream. But I do have friends who do. uh, but yeah, their stuff is fun. It's saucy. It's smut with plot, most of it.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
And
But
they
yeah,
do take from like like actual authors do work with them. So
right.
um you might find a story that looks familiar that you probably read maybe like in Kindle Unlimited or something, and
Yeah.
then you get to interact with it.
Yeah, the difference
With
between the like say chapters versus choices or romance club is that in the latter two apps, those stories are original. they have stable writers who write those. In
Yeah.
chapters, usually they're very condensed versions of novels that are already out there.
Yeah.
So that's the difference kind of between that particular app chapters and other ones.
Okay. I will definitely check this out because I'd never heard of this. I'd never heard of anything like this.
Hmm.
Uh,
Oh
usually
yeah.
usually when I make visual novels, it's just with like Renpai. It's just it's not anything as like this.
Right. Yeah. And there's another one here that I also play, and it's called Love Link.
Oh my god.
Is that the dating site one?
Yes, I do play that
I
one
keep
too.
staring at it like, and then I can't.
It really
It's
I spent
fun. It's
I spent
fun.
so much time on chapters. I'm like, I
Yeah,
just
it's a fun one. I like playing that one. It's cool just to kind of go through and like look at It's basically like a Tinder,
right.
for stories. It's like, all right, I'm looking through profiles. It's like, oh, that one's cute. Here we go. Swipe right.
Yep.
And I would say the tough thing about that one is that um, once you that their characters have counterparts. So if you find a character that is like, say, a vampire character, you might want to make sure you're picking the right vampire character, or you're going to be stuck with that one. Though that one, you know what I mean? Um, because once you start a story, they don't allow you to choose the counterpart.
Oh. Mm.
Yeah, so that's one of the downsides to Love Link.
So
Um,
don't have commitment issues is what you
yeah, but I mean, you can pick multiples. I mean, I got like 15 stories going, but you know, but there was
Damn,
some where it's
Martian
like,
cat.
yeah, yeah, I'm bad, bad about that. But it's like I'll go through it, and there was, like I mentioned, there was a vampire character, and it's like, oh man, all right, he's a vampire because I love vampire. So like, let me swipe right on him, and then it's like I look, and there was a guy, same vampire story, but a different looking vampire, and it's like, oh, I would have liked him better. Oh no. So yeah, so that's kind of a tough thing to deal with. It's like, oh god, I wish I didn't pick the other one.
Mhm. Now again, just stupid regular vampire.
Yes. Oh yeah, but it's a fun one if you're if you're kind of in between stories, or in between chapters that have been released for the games that you like. I'd say give Love Link a shot. It's nice.
Can I share with you my deep dark secret?
Oh
Yeah.
please.
My deep dark secret is a game I've been playing for years. I'm not currently playing it. It's by a company called Voltage, and I get the full name of it wrong all the time. So give me 2 seconds. Just take your access. Tell me the name of it. I don't. I don't. And they do several different games.
Mhm.
I think Samurai Ballad Love Party.
What?
That sounds familiar-ish.
It's been around for a very long time. And it's set in the Edo period, and you're actually like your dating choices are these different samurai, like, and but they're like they do not look like, but they are like formed after like actual people that lived, and you date them and you make choices and stuff like that, and you have outfits to wear and stuff. And
Huh.
the amount of money I put into that goddamn game.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it was like that with choices for me. I was spending so much money uh
But
buying
now you're a
keys, and
partner.
I am.
Congratulations. The first
Thank you.
one, too.
Yes,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
That is
Thank you.
amazing.
I really screamed very loudly when I got the email asking me. Uh and it was I'm sure Jingo probably still laughs about that. But But yeah, I was really, I was very surprised that they were even interested in what I was doing, Um, but yeah, I had streamed for some months, and then they contacted me asking if I wanted to partner with them to do streams, and I was like, heck yeah, let's go.
That's amazing.
I've already started.
Especially since they contacted you. That is
Yeah,
just incredible.
yeah, I was very shocked.
Weak in the knees.
Oh, big time. Yeah, because it was just like, wow, I've been playing this app for actually years, and I hesitated streaming it. Um, because I wasn't sure if people would be interested in it, even though I knew there was a fan base out there, because I connect with the fan groups on Facebook and on Instagram and stuff, and then I started connecting with people on Twitter, and a person who was a longtime viewer of the channel was like, "Hey, you really need to play this app because you love stories. You have to do it." And I'm like, "Okay, I'll look at it." And then it was recommended to me to play the It Lives just because they knew I loved horror. So it's like, all right, I'll give it a shot and I'll stream it. How about that? So I had no idea that I was going to start doing voices for the characters. Did not even think I was going to do that at all. I just thought I was going to read it. you know but I looked as like, you know what, no, these characters have individual personalities. I need to give them a voice, you know and some of the voices actually became pretty popular. It was hysterical how some people gravitated to some of the voices that I was doing, even though they were just completely random and I was making them up as I go along.
That's amazing. I, if you get the chance, my favorite visual novel in the horror genre is The Letter.
The Letter.
Yes. Here's the funny thing. There's always an argument because I am convinced that Kinky recommended The Letter to me, and she does not recall such a conversation happening.
Oh, how funny.
Um, because you can play it on your
Someone
phone.
probably mentioned it in passing, and I'm like, oh, that's definitely weeb shit for someone else.
Ah,
And I,
Yeah.
oh,
And
oh, is this it?
yes, and it's so good. I bought it because it's also on Steam. You have to pay for the chapters, I think, past the first one on the app. But
Okay.
my chat was riveted with and
graphically, it looks amazing.
it
Yeah,
is.
it looks really nice.
Say that.
Yeah,
Um,
good art will draw me in big time.
and it is also
Right.
voice acted, which I highly appreciated.
Oh yeah, I see.
And there's a lot of jump scares.
Nice.
It scared the shit out of me on more than one occasion. So
Well, I'm installing it now. I get to go and play that because I do love a good horror story.
yeah, we're actually going to be playing through it again soon because
Oh, cool.
we did the one. It's been long enough that I can go through the story again, but we want certain people to die. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of funny because it for in my streams it's kind of become a thing where I try to kill off the main character as much as possible, you know, and
why not?
sometimes it's purely by accident. But other times I do it on purpose just to see what the outcome is, because when other people are playing their story or playing through their game, they're not trying to kill the main character. They don't know what that even looks like. So it's like,
True.
hey, it's for entertainment purposes. It's for science. That's why I do it.
Yeah.
We gotta know what will happen if the
Exactly.
main character dies. My problem is I will always, is like in games like the Dark Picture Anthology games, I will always get the characters I don't want to die killed. So if I
Oh,
value that person, they will die.
yeah. It's like, okay, I cannot invest in you. I know I like you, but we cannot be invested. you
Conceal,
know.
don't feel.
Yeah, I can totally see that. I'm playing through the Choices book, Wake the Dead, And in this last chapter that I played today, something happened, and I was like, no, oh God, why? you know. So yeah, I feel your pain when those characters that you really like, something bad happens to them. It's just like, oh come on, no.
Why me? Haven't I done enough for you?
right. And it was funny because it's I've done some where I've made a choice and it's like, you know what, I'm gonna live with that choice, and folks in the chat like, no, replay it. I'm like, I'm not replaying this chapter. I've already taken an hour to do it, so no, we're not playing it again.
This is what we got, and this is what it's gonna be.
Stand
Exactly.
by it.
Exactly. It's like, you gotta own it. It's like, all right, if I lost a character, I lost a character, and that's just how it is.
Sad.
But it's so much fun, or when and another thing that kind of makes me laugh is getting it's not because I do it on purpose, but well, actually I do it on purpose because it's funny to get that reaction when that there's a love interest that's super popular with the crowd, and you totally deny them that. It's like, nope, we're not taking that scene, bam. And they lose it. It's just so funny. I love those reactions. They're hysterical.
They're all like, they're in chat like, how dare you?
Oh yeah. I'll sometimes when I'm like crying laughing, it's like, man, I'm so glad I don't have the camera on because they would just see me just dying over here.
I love your pain.
Be a lynch mob at your door like, what do you think you're doing?
Oh,
Everything's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah,
Everything's fine.
it's like one of the in playing the Walking Dead game, one of my most watched clips is of a time when I allowed a character to die and the chat just lost it. Yeah, so it's like, well, and of course, with delay, they didn't know that this character had died, and until I had reacted to it. And they were like, what? Oh no, yeah.
How
So yeah,
dare you?
yeah, those are some of the best moments is when that stuff is happening, and you just kind of vibing with them all, and we're all laughing and having a good old time about it.
That's awesome. I really do like streaming visual novels. I like seeing like other people's stories and then turning it into our own story. Like I love like when the last one we just did one like a month or two ago by Argent Games. Um and like we got like conspiracy theory about like shit that we didn't know. Like that's one of my favorite parts, and people are like, I bet it's this, and like everybody starts forming theories and you get to see who's right and who's wrong, and then shit comes out of left field and you're like, I was not expecting that.
Yeah, and it's amazing how many different types of story, interactive novel types that are out there. I didn't realize that there were so many apps that deal in these types of stories, where and I mentioned a lot because some folks don't like to read romance, and I totally understand that, and I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But um there's something for everybody. If you only like adventure, or if you only like horror, go read The Letter. Or if you like doing mysteries, there's another one. Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name of it right now. But there's one that's like, it's strictly a mystery, murder mystery, and you have to try to figure it out. A friend of mine plays it, and I'm trying to remember what that one was called.
I do love a good murder mystery.
Oh yeah, and I tried to read that one, but I like just hearing her reaction to it. Um, Duskwood, that's what it is. Yeah,
Oh, I have Duskwood.
yeah, she's
Me
really
too.
into it. Yeah, a friend of mine is huge into Duskwood.
The Sign is
Hmm.
better.
Oh, okay.
The Sign is better. Especially since The
Oh,
Sign is all out. So you can end it. Duskwood, the last I checked, it's not done yet.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Right.
kind of like took me out of it. But the sign is completely done. And I'm waiting for my brain to like forget most of it so I can go in again and do something different.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I just saw that, so I'll install that one too and play it.
That's also good. That's also like it's a creepy horror one, kind of. Like they're similar to Duskwood but different. The same kind of, but it was a lot of fun. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I have medication to make me go to sleep. 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. What does he do now? Text me. The only thing that gets me is the mini games. I'm like, I don't want to play this.
Yeah.
I love the mini games. So
Oh, in this same one.
yeah,
Yeah,
in Duskwood,
Oh, it
you
does good.
know,
Yeah.
I'm not done the sign yet.
yeah. No, there's the mini games in the sign as well, and like they're fun sometimes. Like I'll sit there like I'd wake up in the morning and I'm like looking at my phone and I'm like half awake and I'm like I'm gonna go in and I'm just gonna do the like stupid mini games and then I'll read it tonight when I go to bed.
Right. Yeah, I like that stuff too, and I for me, it's like I'd rather read a book that, or read a book that is fully out versus waiting for chapters. It drives me nuts having to wait. It's like, come on, like, is it out already?
Just finish the story.
Yeah. So, I kind of like where I'm reading the books that are already fully out versus ones that they're of course, generally the ones I read on Saturday are the brand new books, so
Mm.
they're released weekly, and I only get to read a chapter, whereas the ones on Thursday, they're all completely finished and stuff, and so they're older books, so I could just kind of blow through it, and it's no stops in between.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah.
Well, it's 10:56, so we have to wrap up. This has been
Well,
amazing, Martian Cat. Thank you so much.
well, thanks for having me. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. It was a lot of fun.
Tell all the lovely people where they can find you on all the stuff and things.
Oh, for sure. Well, I'm on Twitter and YouTube. It's the same screen name that I use on Twitch. MartianKat. It's Martian Cat. And then on Instagram and TikTok, it's the same screen name but with an underscore after it.
Did
Yeah,
somebody
I
take your
used.
name? Do we need to throw down with somebody?
Yeah, somebody already had it when I went on TikTok. It was like, what the heck? Same with Instagram. So it's like, oh my gosh, when I was able to finally get it on Twitter, I was so excited. This person had been camping on the name for like 10 years and they never tweeted anything. And so I messaged them. I was like, could you please let me have it? And they did. They gave up the name so I could have it. So that was nice.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then on Twitch, I stream on well, I do choices on Thursdays and Saturdays, and then on Fridays I stream with my good friend Bitch and Cupcake, and we do usually Dead by Daylight, but we also play MMOs and stuff.
Yes, this is fun time. I like lurking in your until you start telling dad jokes and I'm out. Like, mm-mm. I did repeat one to my husband that you told on your stream
Oh, really?
because my husband loves corny jokes, and it was the what do you call a robot's one night stand?
Oh my gosh, I was gonna ask, was it that one?
A nut and bolt. Oh my
Yeah.
god!
Oh
I'm
yeah.
so mad that I laughed at that, and then I laughed again telling it.
Oh yeah. I was surprised. It was I put up the mansplaining joke on TikTok, and yeah, that one went over pretty big too. I cracked up, and it even got Jingo to laugh. And if I can get him to laugh, then I know it was funny.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're going to end the stream, and then our last panel of the night and the last panel of TogetherCon, Parallel to Anywhere, D&D, and TTRPG crossover creation. Martian Cat, thank you so much.
Hey, thank you again. I appreciate it.
And we'll be back.